Sup, nerds? I'm Aaron.
I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Aaron.
And I'm Tom.
Nope.
So obviously, first things first, if you're familiar with Kickstarter, you might know this, but of course, everything here is 100% prototype.
Like, they're not going to get like foam core board with.
You're not going to get just a piece of paper taped to another game box. What?
Oh man,
quality is high.
So in Ruins of Mars, we have been commissioned to go out and search the vastness of Mars, and we find all these ancient languages, and we're trying to research these languages to understand them so we can understand the technology that we're going to be buying with all the resources we're getting, and we're running out of time, and there's radiation everywhere, and it's craziness.
Ruins of Mars is almost like a worker placement game, really, but it kind of feels that way, but you really just have one worker, which is the rover. It won't be this little meeple dude, and you pick an action, and there's really only like 3 different things. There is more, but it feels like there's mostly gain resources, move up tracks, or gain time tokens. But the level to which you get to do those things has to do with the tiles that are there. So it starts off pretty evenly, 2 at each spot and 3 at the wasteland, which is a better spot to go to, but you get more radiation, which is negative points, so sometimes it's rough going there. But the coolest thing is after you trigger all of your actions, you pick up all of the tiles, you shuffle them up, you put one back at that location, and then in a sort of Mancala fashion, you seed all of the locations going clockwise over to it. So that way, the action you just took, now the next player in turn order can pick that same action if they want to, but it's relatively weak. And all the other actions that weren't chosen get slowly better. And especially if there's like one action that isn't chosen for a while, which a lot of times ends up being the wasteland, that one starts looking pretty darn nice after a while.
Yeah, especially because you get whatever's there, but we talked about you can get time tokens, and one of the big things you can do with time tokens is you could spend 2 tokens to bring in a tile from an adjacent sector, as long as it leaves at least one in that sector. You can't leave something with nothing there. But I had an ability that also let me do that again if I spent more resources. So I went to the wasteland, which had I think 6 tiles on it, and I was able to pull in like 2 more. One more because the one was blank. But again, 7 tiles. Each tile has 2 things on it. And now that the tool tiles don't do anything at the wasteland, but still, that's a crazy power move and definitely worth the 3 negative victory points to get all of those resources and all of those time tokens again.
And that's actually that's the max you could do would be 7 tiles, because you can never strip a place completely empty, at least, which is good. And even after that, okay, you just did that baller move, well then you're picking all these up and you're distributing them back out. So that, and one of them's even going to go back into the wasteland. So like, you also do have to decide, if I'm going to go here, then I know that I'm going to seed and make this one more attractive for him because he definitely wants to go there. He has a lot of way to heal radiation, which is something that you can do in the game. So maybe I don't want to go there because I don't want to seed his thing. But if I come over here, then I'm only going to be dropping 1. Yeah, I won't even get to add 1 to this other area that I know he's going to go to. So that might change my opinion. But yeah, I like how you said where the time, like, because in those 3 main options, moving up the tracks, which is one of the main ways you get points, getting resources, which lets you buy cards, which is a sort of engine buildy thing, but another main way you get points, and then get those time tokens. It almost feels like the time tokens is the weakest of the 3. But after a while, you'll realize that it's kind of not. They're really powerful and really versatile and really useful.
When used properly,
they
will make the game for you.
Yeah, especially as you start to get the technologies. There's a lot of them that use time tokens to do other things. So like you could spend a time token to get a wrench, which you can use when you're out there at a specific spot. So like you're at the workshop, I'm going to spend a time token to get an extra wrench. So now I can move up another spot on one of the tracks that I'm trying to get to the top of. And, you have to advance on some of the tracks, because if not, you can only buy level 1 technologies, and you can only fit 3 of them in your area anyways. So you're like, okay, well, I need to get 2 up to the A spot on the track. So, like, every track is a little different at where that point is, but you need to get up some tracks so that you can unlock that next row, so you can start buying more things to get better stuff. Because level 1 is never as good as level 2 or 3.
And there's also, so like, while you do need to move up on the tracks before you can buy better cards, you do actually need to start buying some really nice cards before you can get all the way up to the top of the track. Because to get to the top of the track, which has the most points, only 1 player can get there, and it is also like an endgame trigger thing when 4 tokens are at the top of the tracks. In order to do that, you need to have a level 3 card. So there's definitely an awful lot of, while picking one thing and going ham on it is going to be pretty good, there's a decent amount of value in diversifying your portfolio.
Yeah.
And not just every single time you go, I'm going to advance on tracks. Well, you really need to get some resources because you want to buy some cards. And, my favorite hand motion to do when talking about games, I think a lot of things kind of fit together in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just go for resources either because you can only hold 7 of every resource. So like, you don't want to just be like, oh, I'm just gonna get resources and then go over here and get more, and then you're like, okay, well I've maxed everything out. Oh, and I can't buy anything because I never advanced the tracks and I've already filled up my level 1s. Like, you definitely have to diversify. You can't just do one thing, but you can kind of do one thing better than the other things.
You can build a bit of an engine where like you gain time tokens at the start of every turn and then you can spend those to advance on the tracks or heal.
Yeah,
like
get
healing is
rid
a
of
big thing
radiation
too.
for sure.
Yeah, because they're negative 1 point each, but if you have the most, they're negative 2 points. And granted, I haven't really seen like one game I played where I ended up having the most. I still only had 2.
Mm-hmm.
So like healing is a relatively important thing that people are going to do a lot.
I had 5 when we played, so I mean that's quite a bit of points.
And that is going to kind of come down to what your group is playing like. And anytime it's like whoever has the most gets this negative. If we all have 10, like we kind of all have 0 because we all get the same negative. Now, I've also seen people play things like that where on the last move they drop like, we all have 10 and then they do some power combo and drop like 6. Not in this game, but in games like that you can think, oh well, we all have a lot. I can get more. It's fine. And then somebody all of a sudden is like, there goes all of them.
Yeah. Like that's a very good. It's a good comparison. It definitely feels like the
skullduggery and scoundrels.
Not skullduggery. It's called
corruption. Corruption.
Well, skullduggery is a word from Lords of Waterdeep, so you're close in a way. Another thing is, of course, everybody has variable player powers, which is one of the other reasons why time tokens are important. You can use them to swap tiles, you can use them for abilities on cards, and your variable player power always has a time token thing. But of course, then that just gives everybody, a little bit different thing to do, a little bit different like avenue to sort of go on.
It also gives one of those things where like some of these abilities that pop out, maybe like that's pretty cool. Except for him, it would be ridiculous, so I've got to make sure that I get it because it's going to be good for me, but amazing for him, and I cannot let him have that because that would break the game.
So obviously, Neverboard Gaming recommends that you back Ruins of Mars if you like unique mechanics in games. This one has a little bit of twists, but also some things that you're familiar with, like a worker placement E type of selection thing, a little bit of engine building, moving up on tracks is always cool. It's very... it's decently backstabby because the first person to get to certain things can definitely hinder another person's strategy if I really want to buy that card and not. And it's ultimately a pretty quick game. When everybody knows what they're doing, I really think you could play this in under an hour easily.
Oh, very easily. If that all sounds good to you, you should check out the link in the description box to the card or wherever links are nowadays.
Or if you're watching this on Kickstarter, you're there.
Go to the Kickstarter, check it out. You won't be disappointed.
Either way, subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored. Sup, nerds? I'm Aaron.
I'm Tom.
Oh, see? That's what happens if I get first. Subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.
You may be noticing that this shirt is a little tight, and you're like, hey, Tom, you're gaining some weight.
No, it's a small shirt.
No, you're right.